I think Killer Cross is going to sacrifice himself again to bring out the devil in Sammy. And you're doing stuff, and then he realizes...
Are you saying that Sammy's going to start acting not very Usi?
Yeah, he's going to be acting not very Usi.
No notes. I have no notes for that. That's absolutely fantastic. I hope that plays out.
Welcome to the Lariat Lounge, everybody. This is the home of smart takes, hard hits, real talk. I'm your host, Everson Godfrey, co-host Andrew Skeens. Skeener, how you doing this week, brother?
Doing absolutely fantastic. How about you, my man? We always intro with how I am. How are you?
You know what, man? I'm doing great. One of the reasons I'm doing great, and I was about to divulge this right before we started recording. So, not sponsored, but dude, NordVPN or any VPN that you use is excellent. And let me tell you why. So, if you watch Monday Night Raw, obviously you would if you're listening to this podcast, but if you watch Monday Night Raw, you watch it on Netflix. That means that you can watch it live on Netflix and you can watch it video on demand anytime you want. I think maybe like a few minutes or maybe an hour or so after it airs live, then it's up on Netflix. I'm not entirely sure because I typically watch it live, right? And if I think
it's instantaneous.
It might be, right? Yeah. I typically watch it live, and if I don't watch it live, then, you know, I will watch it, I don't know, the next day or something like that, but it's obviously up at that point. Smackdown still airs on USA, but if you're not in the United States, Smackdown also airs on Netflix. Now, I have NordVPN. Again, not sponsored, but NordVPN, if you want to sponsor us, my door is wide open. But NordVPN, I log onto this VPN because I remember hearing this somewhere. I log into the VPN. I throw my VPN into the UK, right? Turn on Netflix. Guess what's on Netflix for me now? Smackdown.
Wow.
Yep. I was talking to you the other day about how like I struggle to find a way to just reliably watch Smackdown so that I can talk about it on the pod, right? I'm at work today and doing my recap while I'm obviously working. I watch Raw and Smackdown on Netflix. I'm going to turn my VPN on Friday and see if I can watch it live. If I can watch it live through the VPN on Netflix, game changer. Absolute game changer.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It would be. It would be. So again, NordVPN, great service. I'm going to pitch them even if we're not sponsored, but sponsor us if you'd like. Get yourself a VPN if you're struggling to watch SmackDown like I was, because it is a great solution. I've heard many people talk about it if you want to watch programming for, you know, that's not in the States, or if you're like me and you're trying to figure out how to watch SmackDown and you don't pay for cable because you're a cord cutter like a lot of us are, get yourself a VPN. Nord's not a bad one, but there are others out there. Nord's just the one that I use. We used it when we went out of the country last year. And, you know, just to kind of protect us when we're traveling and, you know, we were going through Europe. We were in Germany and we were in France. And it's just a good way to kind of protect your, you know, your data while you're out and about and you decide you want to stream or, you know, do whatever. But it just came in handy because I paid for it for like a year. And I believe that year started when we went on our trip. So I think the year rounded out right around this time. So I may look into it again. If I could listen, if it's a way for me to watch SmackDown and it's cheaper than paying for the Hulu TV service thing, which was ridiculously priced, I'll just get the VPN because I can protect my data as well as get SmackDown. That's a win-win.
It's so I'm one of the few that I know that still pay for cable. So I kind of record SmackDown. I've got online DVR and can just pull up the website or the app and watch my recording of SmackDown at any time. So it's essentially the same thing you're getting with Netflix. As long as I'm connected to my Wi-Fi, I can like watch the recording in progress, start late, fast forward through commercials. It's all nice. But honestly, I've thought about VPN stuff more for getting back the WWE network, because that's, especially right now with the entire catalog of Raw not available, it's kind of a bummer. Because I was like, before they moved over to Netflix and it left Peacock, and now, there's some on Netflix, but not a ton and not nearly complete. I was kind of like rewatching through old Raws, and that just kind of ended abruptly, which was unfortunate. So I've thought about doing it to, get an IP for a country that still has the network, because I miss the network a lot.
That's interesting. I have not thought about the WWE network since the WWE network was not the place to go for WWE programming. Like when they switched over to Peacock, I stopped thinking about the network. And when we switched over to Netflix to start watching Raw, I only turn Peacock on now for the PLEs. And at some point,
Netflix is a great place to have Raw live, like for going forward and being able to, join in progress, watch from the beginning, instantly rewatch. It's all there. That's great. It's just right now, I don't know what they're playing with migrating the old content is. So like, while Netflix is absolutely amazing for the present and the future of watching Raw as a viewer, the old stuff not being there just kind of sucks.
Yeah, I can see that. If you're one of the people who really does enjoy consuming a lot of the older content, then I can see that you lose out on a lot because you really just get Raw, and if you're using a VPN, you get Smackdown, but you don't really get a lot of the extra content that was on WWE Network or even what you had with Peacock. You don't get all that. I'm probably like another subset of people where, I don't really go back and watch a lot of old anything. And that's not just wrestling. If I watched a movie in the theater, I am hard pressed to watch that movie ever again. Like I've seen it. It's been stored in my brain. Even movies that I love. I think of movies that I love. I think I maybe watched 2 handfuls of them more than once. And that's fine with me. So it works fine for me, but I can totally understand if you're someone who prefers to be able to not only see the current content, but also go back and listen to older content that's, older than a year, or something like that ago, then yeah, you may want that extra stuff. But the good news is, if you're a listener of the Lariat Lounge, you don't even have a year's worth of content to look into. See how we're doing good for you? We do so good for you that we just recently started, and we don't even have to make you go and get a VPN to get the Lariat Lounge network that used to be around to listen to older content, because that also did not exist. You've only got the episodes that we've got right now. And they're great episodes. So go back and take a listen to those if you want to get caught up on the lore of the Lariat Lounge. But if you're new, welcome to the Lariat Lounge. We greatly appreciate you checking us out. You can check us out here. And Skeener, where else can they catch everything that's Lariat Lounge?
You're already here. We're dropping every week. iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever else you get your podcast. We're over on Instagram at the Lariat Lounge Podcast. Come follow us there, get involved, send us messages, send us your thoughts, send us topics to discuss on the show. You send us some good stuff, we're always happy to shout it out, get down to business with it on the show. Also, email us at thelariatlounge@gmail.com.
That's how you reach us, folks. But hey, we've already taken up all your time with sponsored, not sponsored content. So enough with the fluff. Let's get to the stuff. So Smackdown, first of all, it was a joy, honestly, to be able to watch Smackdown in its entirety once again.
A new experience for you.
It is, man. It really is. I mean, it was the clarity was crisp. I did not have 1,000 pop-ups. I wasn't, concerned at some point that the security of my home PC was at risk because I was on some risky, dodgy site trying to, watch a proxy of Smackdown while it was live.
Take you back to your youth. You can maybe download it off LimeWire.
Oh my gosh, dude. You realize, right? that there is a contingent of people who could be listening to this podcast who have no idea what the heck you just said.
That's probably true. I was just thinking about that the other day, and I started before. Not to get us too off track, but we might as well do it now. I started before LimeWire. You remember, and I don't even know if this is the correct pronunciation, Kazaa or Kaza.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that.
And I remember the first thing I downloaded was the music video for Hero by Nickelback featuring Josie Scott, the lead singer of Saliva. And it was the music video that was, I don't know if it was Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2 that was like a big song for. But I just remember that being the first thing I not so legally downloaded off the internet and ruined the family PC with. So,
oh man, dude, see that takes me back to like Napster and.
See, I got in after Napster, but before LimeWire. So
I'm a little older than you.
Age.
And I remember Napster, and I remember Napster being popular, but also questionable, right? Because it was the first for real service that was like that, right? And Napster came under a ton of fire. And while Napster was being, tried, in front of Congress and, all sorts of things, LimeWire popped up and just subtly kind of worked underneath the radar. And then when that whole stuff blew over with Napster, LimeWire just kind of picked up where Napster left off. And yeah, I remember being on LimeWire trying to download everything that I felt like I had to pay for. Music, movies, video games. I tried to download everything. There was one site when I was in college. It was called Pirate Bay.
Oh, yeah.
And listen, Pirate Bay is where you went if you were really trying to download something. Like you go on Napster if you're trying to download like some music videos, you know what I'm saying? Some MP3s. You go on Pirate Bay if you're trying to get like a whole movie. You go on Pirate Bay, like if I went on Pirate Bay because I was legit trying to download PC video games and I was maybe 22% successful. And the other, I was like 22% successful. And the other times I ran dangerously close to the sun and destroyed my PC at least twice.
I feel like destroying your PC with illegal music downloads from a P2P service was like, that's just so part of our generation's childhood.
Yeah, it really is.
That younger generations aren't going to get to have. Fortunately / unfortunately.
No, they have their own trials and tribulations. They just did not get to live through the era that was LimeWire and P2P services and, all kinds of things.
Come home from school, boot up AIM and LimeWire and get to business.
Oh gosh, AIM. There are people who have no idea what we're talking about. You realize that there are people who are in their 20s who we're talking about this stuff and they're like, I don't care about these radios that they're talking about. Can we get to the wrestling?
yeah, we might. We might have to. We might have to get to the wrestling here.
But I'll tell you this though, man, like Smackdown, I got to watch it and it was great. I got to catch some of the things that I typically have to lean on you for because I don't really get to see them. And I think so where I would like to start is kind of leading into Night of Champions because this is the go home episode for Night of Champions. So we know that based on SmackDown and Raw, the results of those, the Queen of the Ring match is going to be Jade Cargill versus Asuka. And for the men, we're going to get Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. Mm-hmm. Now, I think the men's match is going to be great. I think it's going to be great just because there's going to be wonderful storytelling opportunities that you get from that. Particularly because the winner could go either way, right? For as strong of an argument as I could make that obviously Cody is going to win this match, I could easily see how Cody does not need to be the King of the Ring winner to go up against Cena again. And B, if Randy wins that King of the Ring, he is going to go after John for that 17. I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, not 17, he's for his 15th, right?
Yeah.
So now that I'm thinking about it, John has already wrestled Randy.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do we? And they really painted that as like their last encounter. Not that, anything they say in wrestling to promote a match is the be all end all, but I would struggle to see how it would be Randy winning to get to Randy Cena again.
Well, listen.
But you're right. You could, there's plenty of ways you could go and get there.
Well, and listen, if we get Cena Orton again, I mean, this is apropos for their history, right? We always got like a ton of Cena Orton matches. In that light, saying that, I could see why maybe they don't want to do that. But we did get R-Truth and Cena twice already. That kind of makes me feel like we may not retread this wheel. But then at the same time, Cody and Cena have already wrestled. Now, I could see how you do want to bring this back full circle, because that Cody versus Cena match was the impetus for the Cena heel turn. So bringing it back around to Cody and Cena seems appropriate, particularly if Cena and Cody is Cena's last match. I could see that happening. Do you have a situation where Cody wins King of the Ring and then he holds on to that King of the Ring cash in, so to speak?
Yeah. Isn't it like set for SummerSlam though?
Oh, you know what? It might be. It might be set for SummerSlam.
I'm pretty sure it's the winners get a title shot at SummerSlam. Well, that's what it was last year.
Okay.
So, and I don't remember. I will assume it will be the same thing this year. Shows how in tune I am to some of the finer details, I guess, that I need to pay more attention to. But
well, that
I think
makes
it's
sense.
set for SummerSlam.
I mean, that makes sense. And
but that for me doesn't mean I think we may have two more Cena Cody matches.
Really?
In Cena's run left. But yeah, because I think we may get another. I don't know. I'm trying to parse it out in my head a little bit. I think Cody's got to win King of the Ring to get this title shot. But then, yeah, I don't know. Does he take the title from Cena at SummerSlam? I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes, because I haven't really thought too far ahead in how this goes. But I think we may circle back and do. I could see a Cody match at SummerSlam that Cena wins, and then his final one is also Cody, where he loses to him.
So we definitely
there's just so much in play. We got to get through this Punk match and see what happens there.
Well, that's what I was about to say, right?
That's
what I was about to say, right? So are we definitely saying that Punk is not going to beat Cena at Night of Champions?
I don't know if I'm saying that. Am I saying that?
I don't listen. I didn't say you said that, and I didn't necessarily say that I was insinuating that. But what I am saying is that if we are talking about Cena Cody, and Cena and Cody has to then happen after Night of Champions, right? In order for that to happen, Punk can't win at Night of Champions.
Yeah, to go ahead and get there. And we'll circle back to all the great stuff we saw on SmackDown and the.
Well, listen, we can talk about these things out of order, right? Like,
yeah,
we could talk about the whole story that WWE is telling on multiple fronts over the shows.
I do not think Punk is going to win.
Okay,
I think it's going to be something's going to happen. I don't think this is the place where Punk wins. I really don't think, and honestly, just in to bring the real life into it, I don't think the moment for Punk to win it, if he wins it, is going to be at a show in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
I just don't think that'll happen. And I think Cena said some stuff quasi out of character, like, pay attention, we're cooking up something good for you at Night of Champions.
Okay.
I think that, like we've always said, every Cena match is now tribal combat and tribal rules, and we have a ref bump and maybe some interference. Something's going to go down. Don't know what it is. I think Cena walks out of Night of Champions with the belt, and then we'll have to see who wins this, this King of the Ring tournament. I think Cena and Cody are your win, and then we'll see how we get to SummerSlam. And when we get to SummerSlam, maybe I'll have figured out an idea of how this is going to go.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the obligatory question that I feel like we have to ask now, or I'm going to ask now as maybe a point of reference or a gimmick. I don't know which way I'm going with it yet. Do we get the final boss showing up in Saudi?
For the first time in a while, I think no. So maybe it'll actually happen.
I'm inclined to agree with that.
I don't see that. I don't see him getting on a plane and going to Saudi Arabia to do it. And I don't know if anyone's cutting a check to have him do that, a big enough check. But, everything's on the table. It always is. And maybe it's because we're least expecting it. Here's where it happens. But I'm going to lean no.
Yeah, I don't.
Is
I
that
don't
where
think
you're
so.
at?
I don't think we're going to get the tribal chief. I'm not the tribal chief. That's what he's on my mind right now. I was about to say something about that, but no, I don't think we get the Rock. I don't think we get the Rock. I don't think we get the final boss. And if I'm being honest, I did not really like how they pivoted away from the Rock, post WrestleMania. Post Elimination Chamber, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the way they pivoted away from him, but we have seemed to since then steered 180 degrees away from all things Dwayne. And
yeah, aside from Cody kind of mentioned him in one little throwaway sentence.
Yes.
He almost hasn't been referenced at all.
At all.
Except in some video packages near WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I feel like because we've done that, I am willing to accept the fact that maybe WWE is just trying to go a different route. And I am not one of the people who has been wholly disappointed with this John Cena heel run. In fact, I've quite enjoyed it. And so I don't miss The Rock. And honestly, I don't think I even would be in a position to miss The Rock because his involvement has been next to nothing. And even if you really step back and you take a look at what The Rock's involvement was prior to Mania, prior to Elimination Chamber, that whole thing about wanting Cody's soul came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And it was such a big plot point, and it was put in your face so much that it was literally impossible to ignore. And I can understand why it became such a linchpin because WWE set it up to be. But if you really take a 100-yard step back and look at this, that instant of The Rock being involved in this story, particularly with regards to Cena, it's so small of a plot point that returning to it now would almost feel like just as much of a shoehorn as it was initially to shoehorn him into the story in the first place. And so I don't see any reason why he would show up here. And honestly, maybe if you brought him back sometime down the road to help round out a Cena turn to the light side of the Force, then, I can get it. Let's let the final boss be the Emperor Palpatine of this story in some kind of way. And that'll work for me, but we don't need him in Saudi. I don't see that.
I'm kind of with you. The story has turned away from that part of it, but I'm still always open to the possibility to bringing it back. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it, but is there, in the back of my mind, there's a possibility that it's, reinvigorated hustle, loyalty, and respect John Cena against the final boss as his final match. And that would be something to see. But that's neither here nor there. I think we've got a heck of a promo that went down on Friday that I want you to set the scene and give your thoughts, since you got to watch it unfold thanks to our future good friends at NordVPN. You got to see it unfold as it happened between Cena and Punk on Friday.
Yes.
So you set the stage and tell me what you were thinking.
Okay. So the first thing that we have to mention is that this promo takes place post Cena v Truth 2. Now, Cena wrestles this match against Truth for all of 2 minutes and decides, I've had enough of this. I don't need this in my life, grabs the title, proceeds to do what the heels do, right? Which is take his ball and go home. Truth chases him down the aisle, smacks him around a couple times. Cena takes the belt, mollywops Truth with it, DQ. Then Punk's music hits. Cena, in a very over-the-top, comic book-esque way, looks to the entryway, sees Punk, and then takes off running scared to the ring. Punk chases him into the ring. Cena proceeds to stomp him out. Then Cena proceeds to whack him with the belt. Then Cena gets out of the ring, grabs a Slim Jim branded table, slides it into the ring, and proceeds to put Punk through the table. Now, I thought that was all great. When Cena grabs the mic and he then kind of like chuckles and laughs, that was the first opening for me to think, all right, Cena, what you got? Because it was an out of character laugh. And I was like, all right, let's see what he does. Okay. Once he starts the infamous pipe bomb, I thought to myself, okay, I've got my popcorn. I'm ready. That promo, Skeens, phenomenal. It was delivered in a way that was believable. It did not come across rehearsed. And I feel like Michael Cole said it best. It came off like something that had been sitting with Cena ever since the original pipe bomb happened. The way it was delivered seems as though Cena had been sitting on that for a minute. And it was delivered well. I think the most interesting thing to come out of this, though, was something that Cena said right towards the end of the promo. And I'm not quoting this, I'm paraphrasing, but he said to Punk as he laid there broken in the table in a very weird Family Guy-esque position. He said something along the lines of, it's going to be interesting to see what happens at Night of Champions, because as you can tell, the air around this whole thing is beginning to change. And he's saying this as the crowd is actively cheering Cena, because they always do that, right? When somebody when somebody's cooking on the microphone, it does not matter if you are heel or face. Crowds who are wrestling fans appreciate it when someone gets on the mic and they start to cook. And Cena was cooking, and he knew he was cooking, and he was playing it up to the crowd. You know what I'm saying? And the crowd was eating it up. This dude was a 5-star chef that night, and the crowd was hungry, and they were loving it. And when he made that line, I thought to myself, okay, this is an interesting wrinkle in this whole story. And then I thought about the awesome video package that was put out on Smackdown prior to that angle happening. The Yin and Yang video package.
Yeah, with our guy Corey Graves narrating.
Was that Corey? It sounded like Byron Saxton.
I'm pretty sure it was Corey, wasn't it?
I think it was Saxton.
All right. I
think it was Saxton. But
because now I'm worried. I was pretty sure it was Corey.
Listen, I am pretty sure that was Saxton. And they played it again on the Raw, Raw as well. It sounded like Saxton to me. But it was that video package just spoke volumes to this idea that I wonder, how much are we leaning into this idea of Cena ruining wrestling in unintended ways, right? Both literally in what he's trying to do, which is kind of, destroy wrestling by taking the title and stuff, right? But also in unforeseen ways. We get Cody coming out on SmackDown prior to his match with Jay, right? Then Jay comes out, then Sammy comes out. This was prior to Sammy's loss to Orton. Orton comes out, right? Orton is the only one of those three people who is not cutting a goodwill promo, right? He's cutting a promo talking specifically to Cody about how he will do whatever it is that he needs to do and step on whoever he needs to step on in order to get number 15. He didn't have that mentality until he wrestled Cena, right? R-Truth is not R-Truth like we used to know. He's a different R-Truth now. That did not happen until he wrestled Cena. Something that I believe Joe Tessitore might have said on SmackDown. It might have been him or it might have been Cole. I can't remember what show it was on. But Cena has literally only wrestled a handful of times since he's won that title. Less than a handful, right? He wrestled Orton. He wrestled Truth. Who else did he wrestle?
Are we talking about just for the title?
Just for the title.
Yeah, just Orton and Truth, right?
I believe it might be just Orton and Truth. Now, who else has he wrestled non-title?
Well,
and not counting the Logan Paul tag.
Well, that one and then R-Truth.
Okay, so R-Truth twice.
The quick DQ one from this past Friday.
Okay.
He's wrestled he has wrestled 4 matches since WrestleMania.
Right. The 2 matches against Truth, the tag match with Logan, and the one-on-one against Orton.
And I'm not even sure was the one at Saturday Night's main event even for the title?
Oh, against Truth?
Yeah.
I think it was because they got their championship entrances. They got their championship intros with the ring announcer. I believe so. But even if it wasn't, right? It's only been 4 matches. And think about it.
Correct.
Orton has flipped his script since he's wrestled Cena. Truth has flipped his script since he wrestled Cena, right? Logan did not wrestle Cena, but after he teamed with Cena, right? Before he was just Logan, he was doing Logan, being Logan Paul. When he got with Cena, it seemed as if he took whatever he thought about himself to a whole nother level, right? This idea of wrestling being ruined by a YouTuber being champ, right? Just it seemed to on screen to take his big head and blow it up even further, right? All of these people who are getting in the ring with Cena are being corrupted by Cena. Now you hear, remember, Punk did that promo where he was talking about how that title has corrupted Cena, right? Cena also then seems to, by proxy, be corrupting other people. In light of this, dude, I could totally see a world where Night of Champions goes down and Cody beats Orton, and Orton losing his ability to get his precious in a sense, because now that seems like that's what he's motivated by and he's willing to step on his friends to get there, right? Will drive Orton further down the hole. Because at some point we got to get to Orton and Cody, right? That's a great way to give them some
meaning for the title, right?
Yes.
Because we're getting to Orton and Cody on Saturday.
Yes. So we're getting there, but that's going to be the first time them getting in the ring against each other, right? And that's going to be for King of the Ring. So yeah, I feel like you get more out of this if Cody beats Orton at King of the Ring. And that sends Orton in a spiral, right? Let Randy get back to unhinged Randy, right? And let him go against Cody, because we got a little ways until SummerSlam, right? We've got some time till SummerSlam. SummerSlam's in August. So we got at least through the rest of this month and July and midway through August until we get to SummerSlam. So Randy needs something to do. Cody also needs something to do. So if that opportunity for the title is at SummerSlam, yeah, Randy v. Cody should be that feud in between there, right? Or it could lead to something else after SummerSlam. But I think that's a good way for that to go. And, we've already got some branches coming off of the matches leading into King of the Ring. Because apparently now we're going to get Sammy and Killer Cross, which is great. Because every time he shows up on the ring, the crowd pops something crazy. I don't know what we do with Jay.
Well, but before we get too far away from it,
sure,
I'll jump back in and take it back to our pipe bomb that we got on Friday.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was excellent. Everything you said. I kind of, as soon as he went to get that table, I knew where we were going, because we've all got that image in our heads, at least if we've been watching for a long time. And, of Cena laying there as uncomfortably as he possibly could, as Punk said, in that table. And yeah, as soon as he got that table, I'm like, oh, here we go. And and I loved it. It was awesome to kind of. I like that this whole thing is seemingly to me is centered around from Cena's side on making Punk out to be this hypocrite and
Yeah.
not the good guy he thinks he is. He mentioned, a couple weeks ago, hey, Punk, you got to follow me to Saudi. You got to, and we've touched on / not touched on all the things, Punk has said there. And now Cena calls him a bullshitter on SmackDown, which is great. Says, you change your morals more often than I change my T-shirt.
That's every episode.
I think we're now getting, we're getting this part of heel Cena where more people are going to get behind him. As you said, he pointed out the air around this thing is changing because now he's speaking the truth they want to hear.
Right.
As opposed to, I always think he was speaking a little truth, talking about the abusive relationship and all that. But now it's people that, can kind of get behind him more than just being the edgy fan that wants to cheer the heel. And that's neither here nor there. But I really like where they're going with this. I don't know what it's going to happen. So if you ask me, I'm not going to give a good answer. I think John Cena is walking out of Night of Champions with the title. I think something's going to happen.
Yeah.
That helps that, and something big. And I have no idea what it is. And again, I love that. But I'm going to trust John Cena when I think that was maybe at Fanatics Fest, which, as a side, all that stuff he was doing there was great. Like, did you see that?
I did not.
Like, he was man, you got to watch some of that. So just two that were my favorites. Like, he was making an appearance and, all these people were doing all these fun stuff. So, they've got it a lot at bars, the game where the machine where the speed bag comes down and you punch it and it gives you some sort of like score or force rating.
Yeah, based on how hard you punched it.
Yeah. People are like, hey, John, do this. And he gets up there and he goes up to do it and he grinds back and he gives it a working punch and doesn't even touch it. Does not even touch the bag. And he's like, I haven't hit anyone for real in 20 years. And all these fans are watching to see, they're like, oh, let's see how hard John Cena hits this thing. Doesn't even touch. And then there's they had some sort of 3-point contest set up and Cena goes out there. And again, same setup. All these people are like, oh, let's see John Cena actually try and shoot these 3-pointers. And he's just throwing up intentionally ridiculous air balls and 25-foot hook shots that he doesn't give a shit about. And I thought that was just great. It's just another little more I'm not going to be your dancing monkey anymore. Just because you want to come out here. But, that stuff was great. And again, not to get too off track, which we tend to do, something great is going to happen. I've enjoyed this. I am excited to see Punk and Cena get in the ring together after, all this time for a one-on-one match to two of the best of all time get in there and give us something special with a story behind it. I think it's going to be really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be good. It's definitely going to be one of the highlights of Cena's farewell tour for sure. So, only time will tell, and we ain't got a whole lot of time left. I will say this. I am eagerly looking forward to Friday. I feel like for the go home episode of SmackDown, Punk has got to get his lick back.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
He took some heavy ones.
He did. And, and most of them were verbal. And so I think I'm looking forward to SmackDown because I feel like we may get some world-class Punk. Particularly if he's going to lose in Saudi. We need to get Pipe Bomb 2025 and something that will set the internet on fire again. Now, will he show up or will he be the 5 promos of doom that Cena made him out to be? Will he be able to deliver?
He's got to come out with some fire, or this is one of the, you don't want to say John Cena schooled him, but so far, if we're taking stock, I think I'm giving Cena the edge on the promos in the feud based off that. And based off, you know, he's had the ammo calling him a hypocrite, calling him the best bullshitter. I'm my card. I'm scoring it slightly in favor of John Cena right now. So you're right. Punk's got to come out with some fire.
He does, and Friday will be his last chance to do that. So we'll definitely be watching with bated breath. I know I will, to see what happens there. I will say this, sticking with the topic of King of the Ring, but slightly to the side or in another lane with Queen of the Ring. We have Jade Cargill and Asuka. Now, I watched Asuka versus Alexa Bliss, right? That was the semifinal match.
Yes.
Okay, so I watched that match. It was a good match. This takes nothing away from any parties involved. And then I watched Jade Cargill and Roxanne Perez on Monday Night Raw. Let me say this to you, Skeens. And this is just my personal opinion. If I share it with someone else, then okay, that's great. And if not, that's fine too. I personally feel like I have been spoiled over the last few years with incredibly talented professional wrestlers, both male, but especially and specifically when it comes to the ladies. I think we've just seen some really excellent pro wrestlers, right? And not just excellent pro wrestlers with regards to the pro wrestling business, but people who really get busy in the ring. They can really wrestle. And I feel like Jade Cargill has room to grow still. I think of the 4 people that were in the semifinals, Jade is the person who still appears the most green, right? And she's the youngest when it comes to experience in the ring. So that tracks. But I've always said that she is a specimen. She is an attraction. And the things that she can do with the strength that she has is second literally to maybe only 2 other women on the roster. And that speaks volumes, right? So I think she is good to go in that department. I think that Alexa Bliss, let me go back. I think Asuka is in a league of her own. And you know what? I don't think she's in a league of her own. I think she's in a league of very elite athletes in the ring. And she's always been that way. I think some of that comes from simply having that background in Japanese professional wrestling. And it shows. And it always stands in stark contrast with North American wrestling. And so it looks great. And she's great in the ring. I am a huge Roxanne Perez fan. And I think that her moniker of the prodigy is fitting. I think that woman can go in the ring. She can wrestle. And it's no secret that she can wrestle. She came from Booker T's school, right? She came up through NXT in the Performance Center as well. And she can just go. She's got that pedigree of somebody who really always wanted to be a pro wrestler, right? And that's what she did. She did not have a fitness background before, and she wasn't a bodybuilder before, and she wasn't a gymnastics person or a cheerleader before. She was a wrestler. That's what she always wanted to be. And you can always tell the difference, in my opinion, right? So when it comes to looking at all the people in the ring, I love Alexa Bliss, but comparatively speaking to the people that she was in the ring with, in my opinion, you can see the difference. You can see the difference in the level of skill between the 4 of them. I think that Jade Cargill versus Asuka in the finals is a fine match. In light of the fact that WWE apparently had world championship plans for Jade prior to her injury, I can see why putting her in this position is the one that they chose. I have no idea who is going to win this thing, but man, I was disappointed when Roxanne lost to Jade.
Didn't we both say that was going to happen? Because
that Roxanne was going to lose to Jade?
We know, yeah. I thought you were pretty solidly with me.
Maybe
last
I
week
was.
that was going to happen. I'm pretty sure you were, because we can just seeing what's going on. She's got something going on with where she fits in this larger Judgment Day story. We knew Alexa was, you could see that developing with Charlotte, and I'm sure we'll get to it. That really came into bloom this week.
It did.
This final does get, you're right. This one's more of a toss up. I still think it's Asuka if I'm gonna pick. I don't think they brought her back to put her in this tournament to not win it, but I do think there's interesting stuff that we can do if Jade wins it. But I'm leaning toward what's going to happen is that Asuka gets the better of Jade, and then maybe now we pull the trigger on Jade being the kind of doing what you pontificated that Orton might do. Maybe we get Jade upset that, she keeps busting her butt, working hard. It never seems to pay off, and now she just becomes the all-out Warpath heel. That's what I would like to see, and what I'm going to kind of root to happen. But I think I don't see a way Asuka loses this. And as you said, talking about Jade being new and being the quote-unquote greenest of the 4 semifinalists, I think this is a huge stage for her to prove that, can she perform in the ring at the level they need her to in a big time match like this? Like, she's got a great opponent on a great stage, and, can she cut it? And I'm sure she will. I'm sure she'll give a great performance. I'm not saying she hasn't, but there are detractors out there that say she can't. And this is that stage to prove them wrong. And I'm excited for that aspect of it too.
Yeah, I could see that, right? I could see that. That could be a prominent position for her to see if she can really, hold the water the way that that some people believe that she can. They hinted at the idea of Asuka and Io coming head to head, as Io is still the women's world champion. So I could see a world where we do that. If I'm being honest, that outcome is probably the least interesting to me. I think it would probably be cooler if Jade wins, right? I think it'll be cooler if Jade wins, and whoever it is that Jade is competing against. You know what would be a great angle? Jade wins the Queen of the Ring. SummerSlam. Well, let me start with this. Jade wins Queen of the Ring. Nia Jax is currently in a feud with Tiffany Stratton, right?
And they'll have their match. Yeah, they'll have their match for the title on Friday.
On Friday, right? So
the last woman standing.
So we're already seeing these seeds being sown that, in my mind, indicate that Tiffany, in my opinion, is not going to drop that title on It's on Smackdown, right? The last woman standing?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got 3 title matches on SmackDown.
I don't think she's going to lose that title. I feel like they're trying to foreshadow that this last woman standing is going to be a grueling match, and whoever wins is going to be ripe for the picking for Naomi, right?
If Nia allows it this time.
Yeah, listen, but Nia's in the match, right? Isn't Nia
Yeah. Doesn't mean she can't get pissed off and wreck shop with Naomi afterwards.
Oh, this is true. But I'm thinking when you got the idea of last woman standing, typically the people who are beat, and the people who win are exhausted. That's typically how they play these matches, right? So Nia wouldn't be in my mind, she wouldn't be in a position to Heisman, you know what I'm saying? Stiff arm Naomi if she's trying to cash in. But honestly, I don't think that Naomi cashes in there. You could go that route because there's some obvious lanes that you could go to there. And the thing I'm thinking you could go with would be a kind of a long build. And maybe if you were trying to set Jade Cargill up to be the next champion, then maybe you do have Naomi cash in on Friday and become the world champion. And then between Friday night SmackDown leading into SummerSlam. Well, you got Evolution in between that, right? Evolution's in July, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So who knows what can happen at Evolution?
Saturday night main event is like back to back, I think.
Yes. So you've got some instances there where you could build a feud between Jade and Naomi for the title, which you've got a lot of history there already. Bianca is probably coming back sometime soon, so she can be in the mix for this. I could see a ton of different outcomes where maybe you have a triple threat between the three of them at SummerSlam for the title. That would be an awesome match, and it would really be a nice book end or a nice chapter end for this story that they've been telling over a while between the three of them. But let me tell you, what I find the most fascinating idea is if you have Jade Cargill win Queen of the Ring, right? She gets her guaranteed title shot at SummerSlam, right? Not Saturday Night's Main Event, not Evolution, SummerSlam. Whoever it is that is the World Heavyweight Champion or the WWE Women's Champion. Who knows? Don't know how you could switch these things up. It's probably gonna be the World Heavyweight Champion, right? Whoever that is.
As of now, not that they can't change it, but you get a title shot for your brand's world title.
Okay, so that would be the WWE Women's Champion, right?
Well, Jade is technically on Smackdown, so this would be Tiffany's title.
Right, so that's the World Heavyweight Champion, right?
The World Champion.
Okay.
Yeah, the Women's World Championship.
Wait a minute, hold on. Io is champ, right?
Io's the Raw champ.
Okay, so she's the WWE Women's Champion.
I don't know. We always struggle with these names.
I honestly, dude, I think the World Heavyweight Championships are on Raw.
I think Io, is the Women's World Champion. I'm
right.
sorry,
so if Jade wins and Jade's on SmackDown, it's Tiffany. It's the WWE Women's Championship, right? So
correct. As of now, if they don't change that,
right. So that's the point I'm making, right? Because currently, this whole story is surrounding the SmackDown roster and the WWE Women's Championship. So I could see a world where what I find most interesting is Jade winning Queen of the Ring. She gets her championship match at SummerSlam, right? Whoever the champion is at SummerSlam goes up against Jade Cargill, right? And you're building this story where, Jade is proving herself, right? They're strapping the rocket on Jade. Jade gets to SummerSlam. Maybe she's wrestling against Nia Jax. Maybe she's wrestling against Tiffany Stratton, right? Maybe at some point at Evolution, Tiffany Stratton drops the title to someone else. Who knows, right? But whoever it is, they wrestle Jade at SummerSlam. You crown Jade Cargill at SummerSlam, and then she gets cashed in on by Naomi.
That makes a lot of sense, to be honest. And they reignite that. Dude, I can see that.
What better way to make Naomi the most despicable heel, right? And she's doing incredible character work. And sometimes it's better to let your baby face chase, right?
Absolutely.
Give her the big stage, right? And let Jade win the title only to get cashed in on the same night, right? And then have her go on a chase against Naomi. And then have her win the title off of Naomi at a later date, right? And then really have the fans enraptured in her actually winning it and being able to hold it.
I'm with you 100% that that's where they're going. I don't think they use this to get there. Even if that's where they go, I'm standing strong with Asuka winning this.
Okay.
But I definitely think exactly what you said is where they're going. I just think they're going to get there a different way. They're going to get Jade a title shot another way. It's clear that I think both that Jade is being positioned for that elevation regardless of whether or not she wins this match. But I could also very easily see her winning and this being that vehicle driving exactly the way you said.
I mean, either way, it would even if that story were to play out, right? Either way, you'd still have to have Jade Cargill in the match for the title at SummerSlam. So unless Asuka picks up the victory at Queen of the Ring, how does Jade get into a title match at SummerSlam to get cashed in on by Naomi unless she wins this match? Because she can't go into the match. She can't go into the match at SummerSlam as the champion unless Tiffany maybe drops the title to her at some point in between. Now we do have Saturday night's main event and we have Evolution. So there's opportunities there, right?
Yeah, we've got a while. And I assume Tiffany is going to be done with Nia probably after this Friday, at least in terms of that being the primary conflict there, the
Sure.
Tiffany versus Nia. And then we've got a couple months that we got to figure out. So I don't know. I'm not booking it. I don't know how to get there. I'm just spitballing and saying what I think's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's like, when do they pull the trigger on the Naomi cash in, and how long do they tease it? That's a big factor. But I think, regardless, I think all roads end with Naomi and Jade and that case being involved somehow.
Well, and I think so. I don't disagree.
Stealing the title out from under Jade, just kind of like you said, be it after she wins it, when she's about to win it, something like that, and then we go into that feud too. I know that belies everything I said about Jade turning heel, but I'm just up here kind of calling it in the ring. Sometimes I forget what I said 10 minutes ago and how that fits into things. So not surprised I've done this.
I hear you, man. And listen, this still ignores the obvious, right? It seems pretty obviously laid out right now that a last one standing match is prime for a Naomi cash in, right? And you currently don't have anyone in Naomi's orbit that would prevent her from cashing in, because the one person that's been preventing her from cashing in is in the match. And wrestling logic, like I said earlier, tends to lend to the idea that a last man or woman standing match leaves the loser squarely and sorely defeated and the winner extremely exhausted. It's a perfect opportunity for Naomi to cash in. You could lean into the very obvious and have her cash in, right? That could lead to, let's say Jade does not win Queen of the Ring, as you said, let's say they put Asuka into that spot, right? Okay, so then that leads to maybe a situation where at some point Bianca's going to come back. I think she had like a broken pinky finger. So she did that promo not too long ago about how she's on the road to recovery, all that stuff, right? So I don't think she's probably going to be gone too much longer. Certainly she'll be back in time for SummerSlam. So, you have to incorporate her into this particular story somehow, especially if Naomi wins that title, right? How you bring Jade back into Naomi's orbit is anybody's guess. I'm sure there are very easy ways that the writing team could come up with, because there is a lot of history there. And like I said, I could totally see a awesome triple threat match at either Evolution or SummerSlam for that title. But Asuka, if I'm not mistaken, is Asuka a SmackDown superstar, or is she on Raw?
I'm pretty sure she's on Raw.
I think she's on Raw.
Because her like return vignettes were on Raw.
Right. And they wouldn't have two SmackDown superstars competing against each other in the finals for Queen of the Ring. And Jade's on SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, Asuka's definitely a quote unquote Raw superstar. Although this past month or so,
it's been weird. People are jumping all around. They've been jumping all around. But the point I'm making, though, with that is that based on what you were saying, the rule is you get a title opportunity for the brand you're a part of. So if Asuka wins, that title match is going to be against Io, right?
For the time being, yes.
For the time being. But honestly, they've already hinted at that match. Rhea Ripley currently appears to be going into a feud with Raquel, right? I don't know if that's just filler, but I think there is something with a match between Asuka and Io. Let me rephrase. I'm not excited about that. I think it's just a thing that is least interesting to me currently, but I could be moved. But that being said, that's neither here nor there, because if Asuka wins the Queen of the Ring and then she's over here with Io, right, then that still leaves room for something like a triple threat between Bianca, Naomi, and Jade for the WWE Women's Championship. That is a blockbuster match for either night of SummerSlam, because there's 2 nights this year. So
yeah, that's what we can't we got to remember they've got a lot. They've got 2 nights of SummerSlam to fill up with big matches. So
Yeah, it's hot
you're going to
WrestleMania.
see all the world. All the world type thing, so and filling up with a lot of big matches. So, there's both women's world title scenes have kind of in flux right now, but I think we'll definitely get some clarity with. You know what? I don't think we will get any clarity with whoever wins this match because I think we're both thinking both the winners and losers of this match, be it whoever it is, are going to be involved.
Sure.
Right? I mean, who else is coming after Io soon? Doesn't seem like there's anyone but Asuka to do it, right?
Yeah, it seems like they're clearing the road.
You've got Rhea and Raquel tied up. You've got Becky, Bayley, Lyra still all involved with each other. I don't know who else it would be unless we bring up someone new.
Yeah, no, I mean, and listen, that's always possible. But yeah, I mean, who knows, man? And listen, while we're talking about cash-ins, where does Seth Rollins fit into this? Because he and his faction, which still do not have a name, I do not understand how we've gotten this far, and this faction does not have a name. And if I can be honest, Skeeter, I sound a little bit more perturbed right now than I normally do when I'm doing this little bit about Seth Rollins and I'm not having a name. But I feel this way, honestly, Skeeter, because I feel like it's hurting them. I don't know. Maybe I am out on a limb on my own. And I'm not saying that this faction is doing poorly. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that people are losing interest. But what I'm saying is the rocket ship that was attached to them currently coming out of Mania, right? Going into Braun Breaker joining the squad, coming out of Bronson Reed joining the squad. Why do we not know how to refer to this group at this point? It's something that the announcers could lean into, something that you could market. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't build merch for this squad without having a name. The Bloodline was able to market that everywhere. So much so that all of the Samoans are still eating off of the Bloodline, and the Bloodline has been gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, Solo's whole story still has a background, a backbone in the idea of Solo still living out the ideas of the things that he learned being the tribal chief, right? You still have all these stories that are branched off of the Bloodline. And I'm not saying it's simply because of the name, obviously, but I think the name allows for a level of cohesion in how we look at the story and the centerpieces of the story. And it also makes, in my opinion, Seth Rollins' faction seem somewhat second rate to the Bloodline. And I just wish that whatever it is that they're cooking up, because I think they're going to get a name. You know, the internet has had theories about different names, the Vision, the whatever. I have no idea. And I also heard somewhere that they're working really hard behind the scenes on new theme music for Seth and this faction. I don't know how true that is, but I am a firm believer in like the old school ways of doing heel turns, face turns, and factions. Okay. When you do a faction, the faction should have a name, the faction should have a theme, and the faction should have a mission. That's what factions always had back in the good old days of wrestling, right? I think Seth Rollins' faction has one of those three things. They have a mission, but they don't have a theme and they don't have a name. And I feel like it just hurts them a bit. What do you think?
It doesn't necessarily bother me right now.
Yeah.
Because the mission is so clear. And I think we're still it's united under this idea, and it being right now, we're still in service of Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman and their vision. It is weird from, like you said, the marketing standpoint that we haven't gotten a name or merch and anything, and maybe they're just trying to perfect it, because I don't think this is a short-term deal. I think this is a long-term alliance that we're going to get stories out of. I know we've, pontificated and looked out, where how you get Braun Breaker to become a star out of that. But I think this thing's going to cook for a good bit, and they're taking their time and making sure if they give it a name and theme that it's one that's really good, because I think it's got the pieces to be really good. That said, week to week doesn't bother me as much. I think it's in an odd spot right now because, again, we've talked about how, these PLEs have been so close together. You've got to get, Cena's only got so many dates. You've got to do Cena Punk. Now you're kind of moving, Gunther into Goldberg mode. So it is weird in like, where does this leave Seth? But I'm okay knowing that, again, him and this faction is just kind of lurking in the background. I don't need them to be, as much as they are the focal point of a show, I don't need them constantly being there. I think we can take 2-3 weeks and let other things take the focus, and Seth get a in story and real life, like, well-deserved break after he climbed the mountain, climbed the ladder, if we're being literal.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Seth is not cashing in on John Cena. I mean, what a swerve that would be. Like, we've talked about all these ideas of how Cena shifts from the dark side to the light side of the force, how the title comes off of him, Cody takes it. I mean, it could be such a swerve if he gets cashed in on by Seth, but that would be a huge swerve. I think it could possibly detract from the story that's being told on the Cena side of things, which makes me feel like, okay, we're probably going to get a cash in on the World Heavyweight Champion. Gunther is currently the World Heavyweight Champion. I do not believe that Goldberg is going to beat him at Saturday night's main event. And I don't believe that Goldberg is going to soften him up enough for a Seth Rollins cash in. I don't think you take the title off of Gunther that quickly. So do you think, and I'm going to ask a more generalized question because I think asking for specifics would be just rude, but do you think that the Seth Rollins Money in the Bank run is a short-lived one or a long haul type run?
If you ask me today, long haul. I think that can change very rapidly, and that's a good thing. Like, you're right, we haven't talked about, him cashing in on Cena and maybe that being the vehicle to get the title off Cena. But then, I mean, you probably do at some point if this is the end of John Cena. Don't we need to revisit Seth Rollins and John Cena and how great that was?
This is true.
I get that character-wise, maybe, heel number one and heel number 1A in the company, do you want to put them up against each other? But you got to go back to that at some point, right? With how good that was. I mean, I think it'd be a miss if those two characters and performers don't get to interact on the main stage in the spotlight one more time.
Sure.
So it's probably coming. I don't know when.
What if he cashes in at Night of Champions?
I'm saying long haul. I mean, look, it's all on the table. It's all on the table. And it has been for a good bit, I feel like, in WWE. Sometimes things have been where we can predict everything that's going to happen and how it's going to happen. And, we've had our share of doing that, but I'm as lost on the step-by-step of how this is going to go as I feel like I have been in a while, which, again, is something I like. Yeah. And I feel like I've got to watch to see what happens because I don't know what's going to happen. And maybe Seth does do it. I'm not writing that out by any means. Wouldn't bet on it, but I'm not sure enough on anything I'm saying to bet on it. So yeah, that doesn't mean much.
So I want to touch on two of our personal picks for the week. And it's two of the things that we always kind of touch on because it's things that we like about the shows, right? Aside from like what the main angles are. So one of those things is the developments that are happening with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. So we got an interesting little wrinkle with Smackdown. They're really not, it almost seems like they're not really down for one another. Like they keep interacting, but they're not really down for one another. And then Charlotte was getting jumped. I believe. Do you remember who she got jumped by?
That would be Chelsea Green and the Hervis.
And the Hervis, yes. So she was getting jumped. Alexa Bliss runs in to help Charlotte. And afterwards, they're looking at each other across the ring, and Charlotte proceeds to just walk off right past Bliss. Now,
deny the handshake
entirely. This was also prior to Bliss losing to Asuka, correct?
I think so. I don't actually remember. I was trying to think about that.
I feel like Bliss losing to Asuka happens after she runs out to help Charlotte.
I think so.
But either way, you get this interesting development. I don't feel like this is going to end with a Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte Flair match. I think I find it more interesting if you put them as a tag team.
Actually, the Charlotte stuff was after.
Okay.
So, which kind of even in the story makes it more interesting to me. But
yeah, well, story-wise, absolutely.
Go ahead. You finish it.
No, that's all I was going to say was that that certainly makes sense after the fact, right? That happens after because they had words, right? And then Alexa goes out there and she loses. And then she comes out to help Charlotte. And Charlotte has not forgot about the words they had and has no desire to shake her hand. And yeah, it's interesting developments. I would love to see them end up as a tag team, but this was definitely something that I would love to hear your opinion on.
Yeah, so the way this played out pleasantly surprised me because I thought we were kind of going to go into whatever this story, feud, whatever you want to call it, was going to be kind of the opposite way with these characters. I thought it would be Charlotte taking some sort of aggressive action against Alexa to kick things off, not Alexa extending another olive branch like we've seen her kind of do backstage, talking about, where's the person that, helped me out and was nice to me in NXT, where's that gone?
Yeah.
And here Alexa is trying to rekindle this former friendship that she's made to the point where she comes out and helps Charlotte when she's getting 3-on-1 attack. And then, of course, Charlotte, who has been the one on top, the lone wolf, the target, the queen for so long, doesn't know how to properly play nice with other people. At least that's how I read it. And I think that's an interesting development. And we can go, like you said, go into a tag team or go into some sort of alliance here with these two. Yeah. And that's not the way I saw it. Like I saw it kind of the standard feud, kind of. They, Charlotte attacks Alexa and then they do the wrestling thing. But I think this is more interesting in a way that, can Charlotte play nice and have a friend? Right. Is essentially the story I think they're getting at. I think that's a fun one to do because it's one of those things we haven't. We've seen a lot of the Charlotte character as the elite competitor on the top of the mountain, but we haven't seen the interpersonal character interactions with her. Is one of the things we hit on that we'd like to see more of, and I think this is a great first step. And these little things have been, a fun part of SmackDown for me. And I see this continuing to happen, especially with this development. Interested to see where they go. I'll be interested if this Friday here in a couple of days we get a follow-up on this. And I hope we do. I'm sure we will at some point. I just hope it's sooner rather than later because I want to see the next chapter and see where this goes.
No, I hear you on that, man. I hear you on that. It's an interesting development. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes too. So my other pick is something that
you want to talk about. You want to talk about your guy. We talked about my girl. We'll talk about your guy, Karrion Kross. And through some circumstances, I think probably, obviously, Dominic Mysterio said on show with an injury that's going to knock him and AJ Styles off the card for Night of Champions. Right. And we accelerate after Sammy loses a hard-fought match against Randy Orton. And the guy that's been needling Sammy backstage for weeks now, Karrion Kross, talking about how he's not going to get over the hump, gets to come up and laugh at him in his face and kind of gloats against Sammy. Sammy reveals to Karrion that he has made their match official, and now we know that match, Sammy versus Karrion Kross, is going to happen at Night of Champions. But before we leave the segment, we see Kross and Scarlett with some nefarious laughter saying that they got it. And now I will cede to you, my good friend, on your thoughts here and what you think is going to happen.
Well, now this goes without saying, but let's not forget, Sammy decked Killer Kross before he let him know that he talked to Adam Pearce and made the match official. So I think that there is something very salient to the punch, not just the match, right? But the punch. That sucker punch is, in my opinion, what Killer Kross was trying to get out of Sammy. I don't think that Killer Kross wins this match against Sami Zayn at Night of Champions. In fact, if I had my way, the match should not finish with a clean victory. I would love to see Killer Kross get the result that he's looking for from Sami Zayn. And the result that he's looking for from Sami Zayn is not to defeat Sammy. He's not looking to put Sammy into subjugation by defeating him. He's trying to get Sammy to quote unquote unlock his potential, right? How do you do that? You do that by tapping into whatever side of Sami Zayn we are currently not seeing. Because this nice guy who believes that he's one day going to be the champion and has all his friends who care about him, that guy is never going to be champion. The guy who's going to be champion is the guy who is ruthless. The guy who does not care about what his friends or the fans think about him, is the person who is willing to go there, right, in order to get there. And just like when Killer Kross wrestled AJ Styles, right, and when AJ was about to finish him off with the phenomenal forearm, and you saw Karrion Kross put his hands behind his back to eat it, right? I think Killer Kross is going to sacrifice himself again to bring out the devil in Sammy. And I think that that is what his ultimate goal is, right? I follow a lot of comic books, and there have always been the villains who are looking for world conquest. There are always the villains who are looking to subjugate people. You have the petty criminals who just want to get rich and want to get powerful. But then there are these villains who have a mission to corrupt, right? And those enemies who are willing to corrupt, to break people down, right, are the ones who would love nothing more than to see the hero break all their rules, right? To give in to it's the dark side, to give in to the dark side. And that's what Killer Kross represents. He wants Sammy to give into that darkness. He wants AJ Styles to give into that darkness. And I think that that's what you get. I think that's what you get. I think you get him pulling more of what we saw on SmackDown with that sucker punch, right? We get that pull. That was on Raw, wasn't it? Because that was after he lost to Orton on
Raw.
SmackDown.
Yes.
So you get that what we saw on Raw, which is him drawing more of that out of Sammy. That's what he was saying to Charlotte about got it. We got a little bit of that darkness out of him, and now we just got to pull it out. And that, I think, is what we may get at Night of Champions, is Sammy flipping the freaking script. Maybe he doesn't join up with Karrion Kross or Killer Kross. Maybe we don't get that. But what we get is a metamorphosis of Sammy at a very small level that will manifest and bloom over the course of months, where Sammy is no longer the guy who's running out first to congratulate Cody. And he's not best friends doing special handshakes with Jay. And you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to be that guy anymore. And maybe he starts getting some results. We need more heels because we got a lot of baby faces. And I think Sami Zayn is absolutely in a position where he's being tired of being told, a la Randy Orton, one day you're going to be great, you'll be a champ, but it ain't going to be today. It's not going to be ... And yeah, Sami takes things into his own hands, right? He starts winning, like AJ is winning now. And AJ's got a title shot, which, obviously they got postponed due to injury. But had that injury not happened, AJ was going to have a title shot at Night of Champions. And so you build this story around Killer Cross being right. You know what I mean? It's like, stop him when he starts lying. And, it's an interesting character. And despite the fact that we don't really see him wrestle a lot, I honestly think it serves his character better that we don't see him get in the ring a lot. Like I said this last week, I believe, but when Killer Cross gets in the ring, there should be a purpose for why he's in the ring. Not just the fact that he's wrestling this week because he's a wrestler. Yeah, we know he's a wrestler, but there needs to be a purpose for when he gets in the ring so that when he gets in the ring, you're invested because something is about to go down. And I think that it serves him way better than what he would get if he was just another dude on the roster. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And I think we're in agreement on what transpired and what we hope will occur. I hope this isn't the blow off and end of the Sami Zayn Karrion Kross interaction, because they are both almost like the perfect foil for their current characters in all the ways you just described, in that Sami is not getting the results he wants being the person he is right now in character. Obviously, I'm talking about.
Right.
And I'd like to see, like you said, maybe Sami get a little more intense in this match, and then Karrion Kross pops up Monday and he's there and says, "See, I told you so."
Mm-hmm.
See what happens if you give in a little bit and you just be a little more of a bad guy. See what happens. And I figure that I hope that's what we get. I think we might. But I see a world where Karrion Kross wins this match because Sami Zayn doesn't do that. And Kross is willing to take the steps necessary in order to prove his point. Whichever way it goes, I just hope this isn't the end. And I don't think it will be, because, again, WWE has been good in not rushing this Karrion Kross stuff.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting there. It's happening. And I'm excited to see where we go with it.
I'll tell you what I think will be an interesting angle, right? And then I want to touch on one more thing, one more pick that I know is something that we both love, right? So I could see a world where Sami Zayn, win or lose, begins to buy in to what Killer Kross is saying to him. A la what you said, right? Where Killer Kross, win or lose, shows up on Raw and is letting Sami know either, "See, I told you," or "See, I told you."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, either way
it
you slice that, I would love to see more interaction between Sami and Killer. Even maybe like a bad influence.
Mm-hmm.
Like he starts listening to Killer Kross more, right? And you start to see maybe in the background of shots, right? Sami Zayn is hanging around Scarlett and Killer Kross more. Jay ain't got nothing to do. So maybe you do an angle between Jay and Sami where Jay is starting to see Sami doing things that ain't Sami, right? And he's trying to talk to his friend and, get his friend to recognize, hey, dude, you kind of tripping and you're doing stuff. And then he realizes.
Are you saying that Sami's going to start acting not very Uzi?
Yeah, he's going to be acting not very Uzi. And Jay's going to recognize this, right? And that brings Killer Kross and Scarlett into the main event picture. No pun intended, but it brings them a level up that they were not in before. It still allows Killer Kross to not be the person who gets in the ring and is doing a lot of the action. That can be between, you know what I'm saying, Sami and Jay. And Jay is now in the position that Sammy was when Jay was in the bloodline, right? When Sammy got out, he was trying to convince Jay that Roman is not a good influence on you. And, you know, he's making you be a person you don't want to be. And now the roles are reversed. And Jay is trying to help his friend from slipping down the wrong path, right? And the difference here between these stories is that I don't think that there will be any conflict in Sammy's mind. You know, Sammy is not going to be somewhat conflicted like Jay was. Sammy, I think, is going to be much more willing. He's going to look a whole lot more like, and I don't know how much you're into Star Wars when I make these references, Skeens. We've never talked about that off air, but he, as in Sammy, in my opinion, will be a whole lot more like Anakin when Anakin was tempted to the dark side by Palpatine. And Anakin and his relationship with Obi-Wan. Not that Jay is super wise Obi-Wan, but more so in the sense that when Obi-Wan tried to confront Anakin and point out to Anakin that, dude, this is clearly the influence of the dark side. You know this is wrong. You are not supposed to be doing these things or having these types of feelings or, you know what I'm saying, or acting on these things in this kind of way. You're my brother. I love you. Don't go this route. Anakin's response was not confliction at all. In fact, it was utter disdain and accusation. Like, you're trying to trick me. You don't love me at all. You just want me to stay in my place so that you can be great. He told me that you would be like this. You know what I'm saying? And let Sammy be totally that character that is like, you are really tripping.
No notes. I have no notes for that. That's absolutely fantastic. I hope that plays out. I hadn't thought about Jay getting involved, but you're right. Like, where does he go for now?
Yeah.
This would be a perfect place. This would be a perfect use because you have the ready-made story that, like we've seen told in Star Wars and so many other medium over the years. They have the history with the role reversal from where it was in the bloodline. Again, no notes. I think that would be absolutely incredible. Hope it happens, and now I'm going to be sad if it doesn't.
Me too. So the last thing I want to touch on before we wrap this up is the thing we both love every time, every week, the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day. So Adam Pearce is in a segment. He's on the phone with Liv Morgan. Mm-hmm. You know he's on the phone with Liv Morgan because he's talking about what are we going to do with the tag team titles, right? That gets cut short because people keep coming in Pierce's office, right? So then we get the segment where the Judgment Day is in the clubhouse and Finn is quote unquote giving a pep talk because everybody seems to be talking this Debbie Downer stuff, right? And he's telling Dom that you're still the Intercontinental Champion and when you get better, you're going to take out AJ Styles. And then he says, me and JD, we're going to win the tag team titles. We're going to bring those back to the clubhouse. He said, not Roxanne, Raquel, you are the tag team champions, right? And he conveniently leaves out Liv, right? Dom keeps talking about how he misses his girlfriend, right? And Finn just keeps gliding right over it, right? Like, oh, she'll be fine, but we got this and stuff like that. And then he talks about Roxanne. And this is prior to Roxanne losing her qualifier to Jade. And he's like, you're going to win the qualifier and you're going to be queen of the ring, right? Now, obviously, Roxanne does not win. But before that, Raquel gets in Finn's face because Finn turns around and he says something under his breath. And Raquel gets in his face. He kind of calms it down and is like, you should go out there and you should call out Rhea because Rhea cost you, your opportunity for Queen of the Ring. So she's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. She goes out there. She calls out Rhea. Rhea shows up. They get to scrapping. Rhea gets the upper hand. Rhea pulls out the patented Slim Jim table and she's about to put Raquel through the table. And who shows up? Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez comes out there and she jumps on Rhea's back, just enough time for Raquel to recover, puts Rhea through the table with the Tejada bomb, and reluctantly, Raquel helps Roxanne up out of the corner, gives her a hug. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, this is how the Judgment Day keep the women's tag team championships. Roxanne's going to step in and be the champ in Liv's stead, a la Naomi and Bianca. And then Liv's going to come back at some point, and I would love if Liv comes back. She's got a little bit of an attitude. There really isn't any beef maybe between Raquel and Liv, but maybe you get Liv coming back and Liv is like, well, I'm back now, so you can give me my spot back as a tag team champ. And Roxanne's like, no, I'm absolutely not going to do that. Like, we've been competing and we've been winning. And then you maybe turn to Raquel and be like, Raquel. And Raquel's going to be like, I mean, she has been showing up for us. And she has been helping the Judgment Day win. And of course, Finn's going to be like, that's true. That's true. She's been helping us win matches, and she's been holding it down. Listen, it's all good. It's all part of Judgment Day. Just sit back here, and continue to heal up and we'll take care of this. And I don't know. I don't know where it goes, but every time the Judgment Day come onto the screen, dude, I think to myself, they have some of the most well-written segments. Like, their stories just write themselves and they tell them so well. Some of the acting isn't always the best, but I also feel like this is the Wednesday night sitcom of WWE right now. And it's okay that these characters are a bit over the top. What do you think?
Yeah, we've talked about it. And we talk about it every week, how awesome it is. But these developments, I think it's all stuff we didn't step by step break it down, but kind of foreshadowed last week that when you have an unfortunate injury like Liv, in wrestling at least, you do get the silver lining of the comeback. And I think it's playing out pretty much like we thought it was, at least for now, that, Liv's going to be away and she's going to be quote unquote replaced by Roxanne, which is pretty much what they were already setting up before Liv got injured. That, Roxanne's the new blood coming in just like Liv did. And, I think we're going to see it play out pretty much exactly like you said. It seems like Roxanne's going to step in and be Raquel's tag team partner. Interested to see. Obviously, I think we'll see a little more of this play out on Saturday with Raquel and Rhea's street fight. You got to assume Roxanne gets involved there one way or another. And yeah, it's just, I think we're going to keep going down this road for however long Liv's out. And then Liv's going to come back. And just like we've seen countless times in wrestling, if you're a heel that's doing really good work, even if you're really getting booed when you go away, when you come back, it's going to be the thunderous reaction and a great return. And I'm already looking forward to that. But I think we're gonna cook well in the meantime. So
I agree. Now, one last thing I'm going to throw out there, just a harebrained idea I was thinking about before we wrap this up. And it's based on what we were just talking about with the Judgment Day and the Women's Tag Team Championships. So Roxanne gets involved in this street fight, right, with Rhea. Let's say the two of them beat Rhea down, put a hurting on her. Now, it's not saying that Rhea goes away or anything, but they put a beating on her in a way that brings a level of camaraderie between Roxanne and Raquel, right? In the way that it always happens when people, when friends get together to beat people up, they grow closer.
Yeah, and, exactly. As everyone knows.
We all know that. So, it brings them together, group activity, and they end up liking each other, right? And they're like best buds. Like they're in it now. And they're just like, they're going roughshod over Rhea, all these things, right? At some point, Liv's going to come back, right? What if you go with an angle where Liv comes back, she wants her spot back with the belt, right? Not only does Roxanne say no, but Raquel says no. Raquel likes where she's at, right? And it puts Liv on the outs. Maybe not with the entire Judgment Day, but maybe you do that, right? We've also been angling at this idea that, on-screen stuff, obviously, but Finn has been trying to ship Roxanne with Dom, right? Because he's just trying to sow discord, right? Sow discourse and whatever. But, that's what he's trying to do. So maybe when Liv comes back, it's kind of wishy-washy whether anybody even wants her there, right? Then maybe if you get a situation where you force a former women's tag team to come back together to take on Roxanne and Raquel. What if you put Liv and Rhea back together? Uncomfortable bedfellows.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I don't like you. You don't like me, but we don't like them. Listen,
I can see it for sure. Everything's kind of, we got, again, silver linings. We got a lot of good stuff that we could go to from here. And don't discount that. I know it seems we've shifted years from it now, but we were hinting a few weeks ago at Raquel being the one feeling dissatisfied and overlooked in the Judgment Day. Because remember, she was sitting there all beat up, icing her arm or whatever, and everyone's talking about their matches, not paying attention to her. There's just a lot of ways could go, may not go. Again, always look forward to Judgment Day brightening our lives with the few minutes they get every week.
Yes, Judgment Day just does such a great job. I would love to see Raquel.
And I hope Finn Balor has as much fun at work every week as I think he does.
It looks like he's having a ball. It looks like he's having a ball. It looks like he is a wrestler who, I don't want to say he's in the twilight of his career, but he's been in the business for a long time. And he looks like he's a wrestler who is enjoying the fact that he's not in the ring wrestling as much as he used to, that he gets to do a whole lot, you know what I'm saying, with new talent, with fresh talent. He gets to be on TV. He's getting paid very well. You know what I mean? Life is good for Finn Balor. And, I think that, if you asked Fergal Devitt back in the day, if he thought that things were going to look like this for him, maybe he could have seen it, maybe not. But I think it's awesome that he seems, like you said, like he's having an absolute ball. You know what I'm saying? That he's having an absolute ball, that he's enjoying himself. And honestly, I hope that some good comes out of this whole Judgment Day thing for him. Obviously, it's happening for Dom. It's happened for Liv. Honestly, I hope Raquel gets a big push out of this too, because I think she deserves it. I think that she has earned it. And if none of this stuff happens that we said in the way we said, I hope that just revisiting this feud with Raquel and Rhea that we had in the past is something that allows us to get some more eyes on Raquel as a solo act, because she was super green when she first got on the main roster, and it was very noticeable in her in-ring performance as well as her performance on the microphone. But she has come so far from, where she was. And I think that a lot of that, like we said, that Judgment Day is good for, is for masking the growth process of people, right? Allowing them to sit under the learning tree of veterans, to be put in positions where they can hone their craft and sharpen their iron in a way that is not so visible to the general public. And to see maybe where she's at now, put her in some solo competition. Now that Liv is injured, we didn't ask for that, but you make the best lemonade out of the lemons you get. And to see her and see where she's come from and where she's at currently. The sky's the limit for the Judgment Day, honestly. And I think anybody who gets thrust into that group should count themselves as fortunate, because I think that means that WWE sees enough in you, right, to really invest in what it is that you're able to provide for the company and what you're able to provide for the fans. So Judgment Day is just a wonderful beacon of light every week that we just love. And we honestly love talking about them in this segment of the podcast. We love talking to all of you who listen to the Lariat Lounge and enjoy listening to me and Skeens pontificate on all the things that we love. I am absolutely looking forward to Night of Champions more so than I was, honestly, a week ago. I'm looking forward to it more. I'm looking forward to talking with you about this Skeener after the fact. And I genuinely hope that if you're listening to the podcast, that you reach out to us, because we really would love to hear from you all more. And it really delighted me when your friend reached out to us. Was it last week, Skeener?
We've got multiple friends that reached out to us. We had Gage and we had Angel.
Oh yeah. Gage and Angel. We love that, and I hope we get more of that. Night of Champions, I think, is going to be a great PLE, and they've had some great build up to it, and we would love to hear from you all. Skeener, please let our friends and new listeners know where they can contact us if they want to let us know what they thought about our ideas, what they thought about Night of Champions after the fact. Let them know where they can touch us.
Well, first, I'm going to take 1 minute to recognize the best part of Raw that we skipped right over. And that is, in a couple shots, there was a bright orange sign visible in the crowd that said, "Happy B-Day Ski." And
what?
I want to take a minute to thank our good buddy, Gage Johnson, for doing one of the coolest things anyone has ever done for me and getting that sign on TV multiple times. It's in your text inbox. I sent you a text of it, Everson.
Oh,
with the picture.
That's
got on TV a couple times, and that was awesome. Love you, brother. Thank you for that. But if you want to get in touch with us or make any sort of signs and take them to Raw about the Lariat Lounge, we would love that. But absolutely hit us up at the Lariat Lounge at gmail.com. We're over on Instagram at the Lariat Lounge Podcast. Always feel free to interact with our stories, get involved in our polls, send us anything you want to chat with us about in private, or we can bring it up on the air. We're coming at you every week on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Everyone's always welcome to come in the lounge, pull up a stool, and chat with us.
Gage, first of all, I just look at these pictures. Dude, that's sweet. Yo, that's sweet.
I know. Genuinely one of the coolest things that someone has done.
Legit.
Because I know, look, making those signs and taking them into a show and holding them up is exhausting and laborious, and I really, truly appreciate that. Great friend, Gage, for sure.
I totally agree, Gage. That's super dope. I thought that was cool. So yes, that's freaking happy belated birthday too. By the way, Skeens.
Thank you, sir.
Happy belated birthday. So yes, that's super sweet, Gage. That was awesome. Thanks, man, for doing that for my homeboy Skeens. Next time, carry a Lariat Lounge sign too. In fact, write it on the back of your poster for Skeens and just flip it over and just
next year on my birthday, we'll be looking wherever Raw is, Gage.
Yeah, you look. Get round trip tickets to wherever Raw is. Like, take the words literal. Like, go wherever Raw is and find the camera and get in front of it.
Looks like the closest Raw will be the day before, Monday, June 22nd, 2026. Just go ahead and clear the calendar, Gage. You know where you're going to be.
Man, look, we love it, man. We love all you guys, man. So thanks for coming through. Thanks for spending some time with us. And we will catch you all next week after Night of Champions to recap on everything, see where these stories went, and talk more about pro wrestling. From your host, Everson Godfrey, co-host Andrew Skeens, this has been the Lariat Lounge. Please watch yourself on the way out.